have go. And so to put that creator mode and they don't understand how to really use it, then that would be, negatively impacting them. So what I do is, thank you, Randy, for, coming here today and being with us. We have Jason and Jeff here. Thank you so much for showing up. I'm just waiting. I don't want to wait because I'd like to respond.
We can go ahead and get started if you're ready.
Exactly, right? So it is a huge pleasure to welcome you, Randy. It's such a fortunate thing that, I spoke with Jeff and he said, you should contact Randy. And I'm like, and I'm so sorry, we had not ever connected that got ourselves connected that well. But what I discovered, what I found is that, as Jeff had said on the first day, is that you are my kind of people. And why is that important? Is that we're talking about psychological safety over here. We're talking about feeling safe, mattering, and all of those things. And when we don't feel that, then it makes it harder for us to show up on LinkedIn. So then I reached out to you and I looked at, oh my gosh, look at this gentleman. Not only are you an author, you're also the Kindness and Happiness Connection podcast as well. So even when President Barack Obama spoke with Oprah Winfrey, now that guy is a legend. And for me to see that he was asking Oprah, how did I do? Because we all want that mattering feeling. We all want that safety feeling because that is an innate requirement. So without a further ado, I'd like to welcome you today. And I would like to ask you a couple questions, please. So just give me 1 second. My screens have just gone crazy. I do apologize. Oh yes, the book is The Kindness Giver's Formula, 4 simple steps for restoring light, hope, love, unity, and peace to our troubled world. Before we go into your questions, can you please tell us what was your why for this book?
Well, honestly, the thing that gave me the impetus to do it, I'd already had the formula in my head, but I really had to do it after in 2019, the summer, all the shootings that happened in Texas and California and Nevada, with the hotel shootings and everything. Seeing all the violence and the things that were happening and other issues that were going on, I couldn't sit back and not try to do something, because if I knew if I left it in the hands of the politicians, nothing was going to happen. And so I, decided to write this simple book with the end goal of inspiring people to remember that it's really through kindness that we can connect to people's hearts and change the world. There's nothing else that I know of. Kindness is love in action. When we love people, when we love each other, when we recognize and see each other as people, and then act in kind ways, that's what smothers anger. The blanket of kindness can smother anger every day. You're muted, Alnoor. Alnoor, you're muted.
Sorry, I was making sure that, my ticking of the mouse as I'm moving between screens wasn't showing up. But then, thank you so much for sharing that, Randy. And that is so important that, with everything, it begins with us. And when we see that there is a need, how then can we make that impact? So how does seeing people as people factor into our ability to build our brand on LinkedIn?
Well, it's a powerful thing when you think about it, okay? We recognize the fact that social media is kind of an interesting area of our lives, and it's really led in my mind in so many ways to the blow up of anger and the blow up of vitriol and unkindness in a lot of ways, in the sense that now more than ever, people find that they can, they figure they can hide behind their social names. They're not being seen. They're in a room somewhere. And they just figure, well, I can say what I want to and act the way I want to, and it doesn't matter. The reality is when we forget that on the other end of our posts, on the other end of what we're saying, there is a person, there are people there. And when we forget that they're people, when they're just objects, it becomes, and we think of them as objects or see them as objects, it becomes so much easier to just to be crass, to be rude, to be crude, to say mean and unkind things, to swear, to use all kinds of language, not just swearing or cursing, but any kind of language that's inappropriate, that's hurtful. It becomes that much easier to do when we forget the fact that there are human beings, there are people on the other end that are on the receiving end of our posts. And words are powerful. Words are absolutely powerful. So on the other side, when we do see people as people, when we remember and recognize the fact, hey, they're human just like I'm human. We all get up and put our pants on the same way every day. It doesn't matter who we are, where we are, what our position is. Then it gives us cause to pause and think, okay, how am I using my words? Are my words are they, can they be used to lift, to build, to bring hope, to brighten somebody else's life today, to bring value to the people that I'm posting for? And that, when we do that, what we're doing is creating, how does that build our brand? We're building our own personal culture, if you will, in the behaviors that we choose to demonstrate through our words on LinkedIn, through our words on any social media. And words have power. Words have power either to lift and joy and lighten and bring hope, or they have power to destroy and to bring despair and doubt and fear. We see it all the time, and we live in a world where we have access to a 24/7/365 news cycle. And what do we get fed most of the time? It's downer fodder, as I call it. It's absolute downer fodder. It's created it's presented to create drama, because people believe, people believe that if you create drama and you're all concerned and worried, it'll suck you in to the situation. Well, the fact is, we all know it, particularly having gone through the pandemic, when we're continually focusing on the negative or ingesting the negative, just like going out and looking at a dog turd on the grass and picking it up and eating it. How many of us are going to do that? I don't know very many people that are going to go out there and do that.
That's amazing. Thank you. And when you talked about that, it made me think about my cognitive behavior therapy background, because I deliver those sessions. It's the thoughts makes us do the behavior, and then there is that thoughts, feelings, and behavior. And when it goes in that cycle, it goes round and round. So when we stop, when we pause, and when we look at what is one thing I can do, because we cannot change the other person. And we'll love what, Jeff had said on Monday. It's like act, react, engage. And so when we take that, this is a person behind it. Why are they doing this? When we get to that, we start to look at them with love. So that is so important. And how does the kindness factor into building a strong, trustworthy relationships through LinkedIn?
Well, I'm going to step back for just 2 seconds to share one thing, because you mentioned thoughts and how I have a little thing that I call the TADA factor. And, every one of us, we hear the, little kids when they finish something, we got the magical words, ta-da, I've done this. Well, I call it the ta-da factor. And you think about this, our thoughts inspire our attitudes, which inspire our desires. And when we think about it, our thoughts are going to drive the actions or the attitudes and the desires that we have, and our attitudes and our desires drive the actions we take, the behaviors that we exhibit. And when we have positive thoughts, positive attitude, positive desires, and we take positive action, that results in positive habits. And what's the end benefit to all of that? It's greater joy and happiness in our lives and in the lives of the people that we touch through the kindness that we give. So having said that, that goes right, can segue right into what the second question you asked. How does kindness factor in to our ability to build relationships and strong, trustworthy relationships through LinkedIn? When I show up, like we're showing up here. We're showing up to listen. When we show up with smiles on our face, when we show up and are willing to listen to other people and to build other people and to give kindness away, that is behavior that is conducive to engendering trust. We all hear the statement all the time in business. When people know you, like you, and trust you, they want to work with you. When they know you, don't like you, and don't trust you, they don't want to work with you. And again, so we can, through the things we say, it's the things we say, the words, the way we post, the way we approach things, that opens up the door for people to want to say, hey, I really like what this guy's saying. I like what he has to say, not only in his posts, but if we have, another beautiful thing about LinkedIn is we can create little video clips and share our voice and give people a chance to hear us and to see us. And when we do that and come across in a way that people feel like we care, that we're not just saying what we say because we're hoping to, spark a response or whatever, or to bring in money, when people know that we care, as the statement goes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. When people know and feel like we care, then that opens doors. Think about this. Why am I here today? If I hadn't had conversations with Jeff Young, the LinkedIn guru, if I had come across in any way when my conversations with him acting like a jerk, I mean, think about it. Jeff, would you have recommended me? Absolutely not.
Well, Randy, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. No, okay. I'm kidding.
Well, the thing about this, AmAlnoor, we talked on the phone, right? We talked on the phone, when was it, last Friday or something like that, maybe Thursday? I can't remember for sure.
Yes, you were busy returning from filming.
Oh, yes. That's it. But think about this, if I had come across in our phone conversation as a jerk, would I be here? No. So many, I cannot tell you in the last year and a half, the beautiful things that have been happening in my life have come from relationships that I've been able to build here on LinkedIn, honestly, other than the relationships with my family. But you know what I'm saying? From a business perspective, from a life perspective, I've made so many amazing connections. Just as I went out filming, I was able to get together two of the people that I've gotten to be really good friends with on LinkedIn that I'd never met in person before, came out and filmed. We interviewed them. They're going to be part of our show. And I can't say who they are right now, but if you go back and look through some posts, you might get an idea, because there's some pictures out. No, actually, I was able to meet Michael Ray and Rachel Beck in person, and they're both, and they came and were part of my show. And they've introduced me. I mean, Rachel has already introduced me to two other incredible people that I'm getting to be good friends with. And I could go on and on. I mean, 𝗕𝗥𝗔𝗘𝗘, getting to meet her, getting to meet all the wonderful people just here today. I appreciate, I don't know Jason and Brad and Emily yet, but I hope we're all going to connect because of this, and we get a chance to continue to get to know each other, because that's what makes the difference.
That was incredible. Within a short amount of time, you let us know, and there was a thread that was going on with this. Jeff started out with like, okay, what happens with bullying and what can you do about it? What action steps and how you can choose to act, react, or engage. And then for Shelly, it was around, showing up and that imposter syndrome, but I spoke about that. And what happens when that is that when we feel safe, psychological safe, so this is all as an inside job. Oh my gosh, right? When we are going through things, we step back. And when we step back, we can look and see, okay, this is the situation. You know, one of the quotes I used to love, but I no longer do, I was driving here, driving to work, and it was, you're not a tree. So, you know, you don't like the situation where you are, you can move, you're not a tree, or something like that. Now, when we look at that situation, there are times when people are in situations where they have no choice but to stay. Now, I don't know exactly too much of the weather patterns where you are, Randy and Jeff. My apologies for being ignorant, but there have been times when we are driving here in Calgary and there is a blizzard and it's a complete whiteout condition. Are you able to get out of the way? Are you able to move when everything is coming at you?
It's a real challenge in that situation.
Right? And when his help is coming to you, are you able to move? No. It's when you sit and lean in and listen to the messages in the mess. And that is the same, whether it's showing up on LinkedIn, it's like you take that pause and you reflect. And then you move into that feeling of safety within the self with that imposter syndrome. And what Shelley started off with the reciprocity cycle and how you carried that forward and you brought that to a whole thing is that when we start with that kindness and bringing people together, that is when that magic happens, because people want to buy from you. People want to, work with you when they feel that they trust you. So it starts with you. What are some questions that others have over here, please? Jeff, you had your hand up a little while ago.
Well, it wasn't a question. It was really more related to, Randy and I, you and I, everybody who's been on this call, we all met through LinkedIn, okay? And they don't call it social media for nothing. I mean, the social part of this is really where the real value of LinkedIn really is. I mean, yes, I know LinkedIn started off as a recruiting tool, okay? That's fine, it did. But it's become so much more than that now. It's so much more in terms of what you can do with it and how you can do things with it. And what I was hearkening back to is that LinkedIn realizes this is important as well. LinkedIn wants to make sure that it's a safe environment. And so, for example, just a small thing, but one of the things that LinkedIn has added not too long ago was something that actually AmAlnoor is displaying on his screen right now. Okay, IamAlnoor, he, him, his. Okay, the pronouns that are there, gender pronouns. They've now allowed anyone who wants to put gender pronouns on their profile so that people can see how to respect them by calling them the right thing, okay? That will allow us to be more kind to everyone if we already have that information, right? Which, by the way, is why when you look at mine, and I'll shut up after this, okay, is why the way when you look at mine, it says respect to all. It isn't about me, it's about what I'm going to give out into the world to everyone else. I'm going to respect everyone else that I meet on LinkedIn, everyone else that I have any kind of a conversation with on LinkedIn. And again, that's exactly how Randy and I met, is through that venue of being able to connect with someone else, get to know them, get to like them, get to trust them. And he trusted me enough after we had our first conversation and made a connection to actually go on a Zoom call with me, a guy he didn't know whether it was a jerk or not. Okay, like I said, Randy, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. Okay, I don't know how you can put up with me that easily, but you did. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jason. You have your hand up.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. I guess the question, it's more of a comment, maybe Randy, if you could comment on it, but the power of stepping back. I mean, even you know, you could be on social media 24/7, 365, but you have to realize that you have to invest time in yourself and your own mental health, right? And even if you're dealing with negativity or positivity, whatever it is, like you still need a break. Like you need to get off that treadmill. And just interested to hear your thoughts on that, and if you could elaborate at all.
Well, you think about this. Who do we spend 100% of our time with? Ourselves, right? And so I learned this little song when I was a child. It's, you know, is in church, but it works. It says, "I want to be kind to everyone, for that is right you see. So I say to myself, remember this, kindness begins with me." Before I can show up with kindness to other people, I have to be kind to myself. I have to be, and there's 4 areas. I have to take care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And I have to be willing to do that if I want to be able to ensure that my production capacity is working properly. What's my production capacity? My body, my mind, my ability to think and to share and to act. That's my production capacity. So it's absolutely vital that you take time to step back, Jason. I think that's a great thought. If we're not taking time to be kind to ourselves and take care of ourselves, then it's going to be really hard to do that for anybody else. Oh.
A brilliant question. What's LinkedIn handle? I'll give that to you. It's URL, by the way, and he has the follow button. So the thing about what you'd said right there is that was really impactful. And I can't remember the name. He is an Indian gentleman, like a really big servant leader. And he talked about juggling 5 balls. And so there is the family ball, the health, spirituality, I can't think of all, and one of them is the work ball. So when the other balls are glass balls, right? And when we're juggling all of these, if we're putting everything into the work ball, that's always going to keep bouncing. But the glass ones are going to break. And so showing up brave on LinkedIn starts with you. It starts with creating that mattering for yourself when you're not getting it for others. It starts with seeing what is that ikigai? What is my purpose? Ikigai, don't call me an ikigai, please. When I used to date, the girls used to call me that, but I was like, please, no, I've cleaned. Anyways, I digress. But what it is, it's a Japanese term where what you're good at, what the world needs, what you love, and what you get paid for. And when these circles connect, in the middle is that purpose where you have meaning in what you do. And then you're able to go on and show up brave by taking care of number 1, and that is you, right? So thank you. Any other thoughts and comments? We still have 5 more minutes. I would love to, and I'm not going to pick and voluntold, but there is at least one person who's now looking away and the other person is like trying to say, oh, okay, I don't want to ask questions, but he typed it in the chat box. Thoughts, comments?
Oh, I'm not looking away. We're in the same office here. I'm looking at you on a different screen. So, interesting, the assumptions and perspectives. So no, this is good. Like the kindness aspect. I really liked, Jason, your question, and Randall, your response. As you're saying that, I was just thinking of, the one statement, one of the most famous and impactful statements in history is love your neighbor as you love yourself. Absolutely. And, you can't give what you don't have, and there's nothing selfish about that. And so, in fact, it's selfish not to, because if we don't be kind to ourselves and be good to ourselves in an authentic, divine way, it's going to be, we're not going to be able to add value from our authentic selves. We'll end up manipulating others to meet our needs versus coming from an authentic place of kindness to give. back with no strings attached. So, yeah.
Very good. I well said. And I love that statement. It's hard to love our neighbor when if we're not loving ourselves. So, thanks, Brad.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Thanks for your sharing and your input, and the impact that you're making is huge. And the world definitely needs more of that voice.
Well, and think about it, and think about all these people right now that are, it seems like anyway, and maybe I'm just crazy, but it seems like there's far too many people looking for reasons to be angry right now. And which has led to a lack of civility, you know, and the ability to have discourse about things that we may disagree on without being disagreeable. You know, there's a statement, one of my church leaders, not to get religious again, but one of my church leaders made this statement. It says, conflict is inevitable, but contention is a choice. You know, as human beings, we're always going to we have different experiences. We have different thoughts. We have different views. We may have different, completely polar opposite political views, etc. But, and that's inevitable, you know, and we may do, but we have a choice about whether or not we allow ourselves to get angry and to be contentious about those things. There's nobody that's forcing us to get angry. We make that choice if we do. And so, you know, we can choose not to get angry. We can choose to be kind and choose to have a discussion. Again, seeing people as people, recognizing that, you know, we might have differences, but there are many more things that we can work towards in common that can transcend those differences and still allow us to have true unity as opposed to conformity, which is too many. It's what it means when politicians say unity too often. True unity and greater peace. So
I love that. That was fantastic. And, you know, and going back to that one single point that you'd mentioned is looking at people as people. And with what's going on, there are so many uncertainties right now. We don't know if there's going to be yet another variant. And already people were first told 2 shots. Now it's like we need a 3rd shot. And then I heard that there is a country which is now proposing 4th and 5th shots. Like, when is that going to end? And what does that do to people? Is that we feel that fear and all of that. And when we're showing up, we're showing up with anger, right? We have a minute left and Brad has put his hands up. So please go ahead, Brad.
A quick thought, just to tie into what you're saying there, and because I love this conversation. You know, what you're saying, AmAlnoor, Randall, Jason, like just there's a person behind it all. And at the end of the day, anger or whatever is the icing on the cake response. There's always a background, a burden, a battle that person might be facing, a story. And at the end of the day, every person is saying, you know, 2 things. You know, I want to be noticed. I want to be loved. You know, I want to be wanted. And if we can see that past, you know, what they do, what they have, and see the person, you know, behind the performance and value them as a soul, as a human, then that will help us go deeper with each other.
I heard you, Brad. That was true psychological safety. Thank you. You really showed up and I appreciate you for that. Brad is proudly known as a loving father of 2 beautiful girls, and he adores them with all his heart. Our time is up. Thank you so much. Randy, my deepest appreciation for you, for Jeff, and for Shelley for giving us all these wonderful tools. And for today, I'm going to ask you to not only join our group, but look at some LinkedIn free courses. And one which will be particular for you, Jason, is around creating the mental health while you're in job search. So I'll be sharing that, and I would like you to take a look at those and then put those up on your profile to show that you've done that and earn those certificates. To your growth, to your health, to your happiness, much love, and be brave and show up. Thank you. I am Alnoor.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Elnor. Thanks for putting this together.
It is my pleasure. Thank you once again. Have a lovely rest of the day.